Hey, what's up guys? It's Dabitat, and today we're starting on building the 2JZ GTE for the Mark II restoration. As some of you guys know, the Mark II has been the main project on the channel for the last couple of years, and now it's finally time to assemble the heart of the beast that's going to be this project car. So, without further ado, let's get to assembling the rotating assembly on this 2JZ GTE, and I'll run you through the process of speccing out your bearing clearances and making sure that you have everything prepared properly for the assembly. So here's the block. We recently just got it back from the machine shop where they went ahead and hot tanked it and cleaned it to get out any debris that might be remaining inside the engine or on the outside of the engine, and they also decked it and gave it a fresh new surface for the head gasket to seal to. When I build a 2JZ, there's always one critical step that I take before taking the block over to the machine shop. On all 2JZ blocks, there are oil gallery balls on the front and back of the engine. These are the oil galleries that run from the front to the back of the engine and distribute your oil throughout the entirety of your engine. I remove these with a TIG welder. With the oil gallery balls removed, I go ahead and I tap the holes with a 3/8 18 NPT tap, and I get fittings to go in all 4 of the holes. After getting the tap set in by hand, I went ahead and doused it in Tap Magic because you can never really have too much lubrication, and then I twisted it in with a crescent wrench. The purpose of doing this is to remove any debris or grime that could be trapped in these oil galleries. The last thing you want to do on a fresh build is immediately deposit junk into, your fresh bearing surfaces. So one way to ensure that this is not a problem and that the machining process also doesn't leave anything behind is to remove these, tap them, and then put in your own plugs. We'll go ahead and put these plugs in the block with red Loctite when it comes time to assemble it. With the machining process done on the engine block and back in my shop, I went ahead and cross-hatched the cylinders with a flex hone to 45 to 60 degrees. Alright, so I got my 240 grit flex hone right here, and I'm going to use that to cross-hatch all the cylinders at a 45-degree angle. What this does is create scratches in the cylinder walls that allow oil to sit in it to provide a thin film of lubrication while your pistons travel up and down to make sure that things don't get too hot. Not doing this can cause really bad blow-by issues, which is essentially oil getting past your pistons and then combusting with your cycle of the engine. You don't want any of that. You want to make sure that it's doing exactly what it's supposed to, which is supposed to aid and assist with creating compression. With everything on the block being prepped and ready to go, it's time to drop in the bearings. So the first thing we're going to do is take brake clean, and we're going to clean out all the bearing journal surfaces where the bearings mount. After that's done, we're going to go ahead and install each bearing dry into the journal, and then we're going to put a thin layer of assembly lube on each bearing to stick the crank on. With all the bearings in and the crank set on top of it, now we're going to take the other shell of the bearing. We're going to install these bearings on the main caps dry onto the crankshaft, but before we put them on, we're going to use a thing called Plasti-Gauge to measure the oil clearance between the bearing and the bearing journal on the crankshaft. This is important because it'll tell you if your bearings are too loose, too tight, or if you have damage to your crankshaft that's going to cause excessive oil clearances, which will result in inevitable failure on your block. You can also use a caliper or a micrometer to measure these things, but Plasti-Gauge should be close enough on an engine that you're assembling that you know is already healthy, but it's to confirm things before you officially seal them all up for good. Once you get everything lined up, you're going to go ahead and tighten all of your main cap bolts down to the spec that you would if you were completing the engine build. Do not, under any circumstances, rotate your crankshaft at this point. You will mess up the Plasti-Gauge, and you're also going to be spinning the crank unlubricated on dry bearings, which you do not want. All right, so we got all the main calves tightened down to 29 foot-pounds in sequence, starting with the middle, working your way out, you know, and then on the second pass to 90 degrees. So now that all of those are torqued down, I'm gonna go ahead and take them all back off, and then we can measure the plasti gauge. All right, so you're gonna take the plasti gauge, and you're gonna measure the thickness of the squish, right? So it looks like this one is a perfect, I don't know if that's 15 thou? Is that what that is? I don't know. Is that 15 thou, Joe?
Yeah, 15.
Looks like it's about 15 thou right here. All right, so we're gonna check that against all the other ones and figure out how the oil clearance looks. We got journal number 2. 15 thou. 15 thou is right on the tight end of spec, so this isn't like a loose, you know, loose set of bearings. Look at that, 15 thou. Now I know that this isn't like the official way to do it. The real way to do it is to use like micrometers, but this is definitely close enough, especially when I know that the components of the engine, they weren't bad prior to disassembly. So it's not like this is like a spun bearing crankshaft or anything like that. Look at that. Everything's coming out to right about 15 thou. Perfect. With all the bearing clearances looking good and being at the minimum spec of what's allowed, we're going to go ahead and clean off all of the upper half bearings with brake clean, wipe them down, apply assembly lube to the journals of the crankshaft, and then we're going to put all the main caps back on and then torque them down in sequence to their final torque sequence. Now these 2JZ main cap bolts are torqued to yield, so you want to check for any signs of stretching, and if at any point during your torque process it skips or moves or you don't meet the spec that you're supposed to for your torque sequence, that bolt is stretched and you're going to want to replace it. Now that I have the crankshaft put in with the main bearings and everything is torqued to spec, this would now be the time that we would take the pistons and we would start speccing out piston rings in order to get them put in the engine, you know, and move on with the build. However, the company who I ordered piston rings from, they did not mail them out this week, and the valve seals that I ordered also did not get mailed out this week. So we're going to move on today, and I'm going to start talking to you guys about what we're putting this 2JZ GTE into, which is the Mark II. If you don't know what a Mark II is, it's a JZX 81 chassis number made by Toyota, and it is the JDM counterpart of the USDM Cressida. Now these cars are pretty similar, but at the same time, they're very different. So we can go over that a little bit, and then I'll show you where we are in terms of the build. So I recently just painted this car last September after spending about 1.5 years prepping the body, welding on metal fender arches, working on the body kit, making it custom fit to match the wide body arches, building 3-piece wheels to match the wide body, and just going through a litany of all sorts of different things in order to try to restore this car. Now this is my first restoration, so it's been a huge learning experience, but I'm here for it. I really enjoy this stuff, and it allows me to expand my knowledge by doing research and finding new ways to get parts, build things, attain things to build. You know, it's just expanding all of my knowledge regarding this vehicle, this platform, JZs, JDM stuff, etc. So I'm having a great time. If you guys have been along for this process, you know how many hours I've put into this car. With all that being said, the car is pretty much ready for an engine. All I really have to do in terms of the paint is go back and wet sand it and buff it, but today's video is about the 2JZ. So here's where we're at when it comes to mocking up the 2JZ into the Mark II with an R154. Alright, so I got the 2J block right here that I'm going to be building to go in the Mark II, and we're going to attach the R154 to it, and then we're going to put it in the car so we can mock up the harness. Peter's here, he's the one who's building the harness for this car, and he needs to make sure everything fits up before he finalizes the harness. I've got a W58 and an R154 sitting right here, so I'm going to pull out the R154, and that's what we're going to use. Alright, we got it connected. Got a couple bolts on there. This is basically how long the entire drivetrain will be, right? Minus the stuff in the front, but that doesn't matter. Then I'm just going to go ahead and set the cylinder head on top, and then we can put the intake manifold on, and then see the length of the harness to the inside under the dash where the ECU will go. All right, so now that we got the engine dropped in with the R154 attached to it, it's all bolted in. I went ahead and covered the entire deck surface of the block with plastic wrap because the head has a fresh deck job on it too, and I don't want to compromise that at all, especially because I'm using a Cometic gasket and you want it to be as perfect as possible. And I haven't gotten this block done yet. When I pull that out, that's the next thing to get done. All right, so now that we got the head on, I went ahead and put on the intake, the turbo manifold, and then Peter and I went ahead and strung in the harness that he made. Shout out Peter, the most knowledgeable Cressida Toyota guy on planet Earth. I swear by this man. He's a genius. He could probably make these in his sleep. Anyways, we got it all routed in, and we're figuring out the length that we need in order to make it fit well. And then he's figuring out the length for all of the accessories. Like underneath the valve cover, we've got the lead for the Yaris coils, looking brand new. Beautiful. Well, it is kind of brand new. Peter just made this. And then, yeah, so now we're going to take it all back apart, and it's going to get finished loomed up. I'm going to take out the engine, build it, and then next time it's in here, it should be going in to start. All right, so now that we've gotten as far as we can, and I've gotten you guys up to date with the project, the engine, where we're at on the engine, and what we're waiting for, the next video will be all about assembling the cylinder head, assembling the bottom end with pistons, right? And then I'm also going on an adventure to pick up parts for the R33, and I'm also picking those parts up from a place where I'm doing a super secret project that I can't reveal to you guys until like later this year, which is crazy because this is the kind of stuff that this channel is providing for me. But either way, let me know down in the comments if you want me to keep the R33 content separate from the JZ stuff, or if you want me to record it like a vlog like I have been in previous videos, where I essentially just record what I do day to day and then I tie it all together in a video. This one is specifically about the JZ and the Mark II, but I'm trying to find what works here on the channel. I don't know if like these demonstrational style videos are what's gonna work for all of my videos, but personally, my preference would be to make the vlog style videos that I make when I'm just picking up the camera and bringing you guys into what I'm doing. So let me know, please, because I want to make content that appeals to you guys. You know what I mean? I want to make content that you guys want to watch, that's entertaining, that keeps you guys engaged. And I'm trying to find that perfect balance between vlogging, not burning myself out, teaching you guys things, keeping the builds going, you know, and also continuing to grow my skill set myself. We're going to close this video now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Give it a thumbs up. Comment anything down below that you have. Any thoughts that have prompted in your head throughout the video, comment them down below. Throw a like on it, subscribe, turn on notifications, and we will see you in the next video.